Hey guys, I'm here tonight to give you the rundown, the concert review, and the show was the Black Dahlia Murder with Terror, Frozen Soul, Fuming Mouth, and Phobophilic. Massive lineup, as you can see. Different bands, but a lot of similarities across most of them. Now, I was obviously there to see the Black Dahlia Murder first and foremost. Everything that has happened to them, I wanted to understand where they're going, what the vision is, how the experience is going to be like, how is the audience going to take this new Black Dahlia Murder. So there was a lot of question marks surrounding tonight's performance. So they were definitely on my mind as far as the band that I was most excited to see. But there was other bands, and let's start off with Phobophilic. I had never heard of this band before, so today was my introduction to the band, not just live, but introduction in general. And I was happily pleased with their performance. Old school death metal, really grinding you with their songs, bringing a lot of old school elements, but working them really well in a way that they still feel somewhat modern, but you can always go back to the origins of the genre, to the roots of the genre. So a very interesting band. I just felt like they lacked a little bit dynamic on stage because they had the room to move, they had the room to spread their wings, and they also had the ability to maybe be a little bit more interactive with the audience. I know you're the opening band of the night, but part of the performance is not just playing songs and playing them really well. It's really taking the next step in that evolution and being a little bit better connected with your audience, because you're not just connecting with your existing audience, you should also be trying to connect with audience that you want to gain. I felt like they were a little bit stiff on stage, but that doesn't mean that the sound wasn't good, and that doesn't mean that their musical performance wasn't good, because I really enjoyed it. Like I said, they're old school death metal, something that I can definitely gravitate towards, something that I can definitely appreciate. Next came Fuming Mouth. Now, they're a band that I'm familiar with, but I have never seen them live before. More energetic. You can see the step up in terms of energy. You can see the step up in terms of interaction with the audience from Phobophilic. So definitely a band that has a little bit more of a know-how in terms of how to conduct themselves on stage, on how to bring the audience on board in terms of what they're trying to provide, and then also bringing that old school style death metal sound that just really grinds you, that just really pushes you. You feel like you're in the mush and you can't move around. It's this sticky death metal sound that has roots and has well-established roots. It's just there's not a lot of bands, at least modern death metal bands, that sound like this. So it felt like I was traveling back in time with these two first bands and listening to some old school Obituary from the late 80s. That's kind of how it felt to me, and I really enjoyed the experience. I think these two bands are super talented. Fuming Mouth has a lot of tools in their arsenal, vocally and musically, and definitely a little bit more polished. A band that, like I said, understands the live dynamics a little bit better. Then comes Frozen Soul. I was talking to a friend of mine during the show, and Frozen Soul was definitely on the top of my list with the Black Dahlia Murder as far as bands that I wanted to see. I'm a fan of these guys. I love their music. They have a new album coming out in May. So there's a lot to be excited about, and you know they're going to be playing those new singles that they released already. So there was a lot to be excited about their performance. But nothing really prepared me to what they were like live. They bring the studio sound into a more broadened perspective with their live performance. They have a lot of strength, they have a lot of power. Now, when it comes down to the sound, they are the lean back of death metal. There's a little bit more hardcore in their sound. There's a little bit more groove in their sound. So when you listen to the heaviness that they have, because they are super, super heavy, you're not just head banging. You're kind of like leaning back with a weight, with the feel of that heaviness coming towards you, almost like an explosion that you're feeling the aftermath of it, the recoil of it. There's such a strong band live with great sound, real heaviness, but heaviness that, like I said, has that groove, has that hardcore feel into it that allows you to just lean back a little bit, understand it a little bit, taking it all in, almost like, oh, that was fucking heavy, and then you move forward and you start with your head banging. They're also great as far as stage presence are concerned, commending the audience, commending the crowd, telling exactly what they expect from the audience, from the crowd, and then giving back 100-fold. Great live band, great live band. If you enjoy their studio work, you have to go check them out live, because I honestly feel like they turned the knob all the way to 11. Definitely more organic, not as restrained, still as heavy as they are in the studio, if not even heavier. But the dynamic that they have, the stage presence that they have, I think that's what really elevates the overall performance to something a lot more memorable, something a lot more impactful. So great set by Frozen Soul. Now Terror came on. I heard the songs, but I didn't actually see their performance because it was boiling hot and the place started to get more packed with every single band. And by the time Terror hit the stage, you couldn't move. I mean, I don't think you could even fart. That's how packed everybody was. So I decided to go for a drink and listen to their set, but not necessarily watch their set. I've seen the band before. I saw them on tour with Hatebreed before, last time they played in Toronto. And they're a great live band. They have great energy. And even though I wasn't watching them, the performance really hit the mark as far as the sound is concerned, as far as what I could hear in terms of them interacting with the audience. Your prototypical hardcore band that does that sort of stuff real well is not just about playing songs, it's about making sure that everybody's having a great time while you're playing your songs. And I feel like Terror is definitely a band that, due to their experience at the time that they've been around, they definitely understand that. There was a massive amount of Terror fans in the audience. I also really liked their merch. I felt like their merch catered more towards a heavy metal audience and not necessarily just towards a hardcore audience. Here's a band that understands who they are on tour with. They're on tour with a bunch of death metal bands, so that is going to be the majority of the fans coming to the venues. You want to sell merch? You have to have some cool designs that can, rival the designs of the other bands on the bill. So kudos to Terror for understanding their place on this lineup, who they are, what their sound is all about, and then try to fit in the best way possible so that they can get the biggest, or at least try to get one of the biggest pieces of the pie available to them. Last but not least, the Black Dahlia Murder. Now, so many question marks. How are they going to sound? How is the crowd going to interact? What is going to be the crowd response? How are these songs going to feel? Is there going to be a sense of emptiness? None of that was there. I mean, the show was flawless. They have great sound live. I honestly feel like they sound perhaps almost better than ever in terms of how the guitars come across. They're one of the very few North American melodic death metal bands, or even death metal bands if you will, that has great unique guitar sound that sets them apart from everybody else. And if you close your eyes and you listen to them and you don't know who you're listening to, you actually feel like you're listening to a Swedish melodic death metal band or a Finnish melodic death metal band. They don't feel American from that type, from that perspective. They sound very European. And I felt like today at this show, they sounded even more that way. Like the melodic side of the band really came to fruition, really came to the forefront and took hold. Vocally, super strong, nothing to point. I think it's the perfect match for their discography and perhaps for where they're going forward. So I felt like they found the right piece to try to make this puzzle work, and the puzzle works. The fans' reaction was outstanding. Tons of crowd surfing, the horns up. There was a little bit of therapy happening during this show. Therapy for the band to see how engaged the audience is and to see how happy they were to be there and how happy they are to see the band continue and move forward. And then from the fans to see their favorite band and to really cherish the legacy that the band has, but also keep your eyes in the future in terms of what they can do and where they can go. This tour, more than just enjoying the music, more than just enjoying the songs, and really appreciate how good they are as musicians. Like I said, the guitar sound was outstanding. I feel like this is a tour more for therapy value. This is really one of those tours that's gonna bring together fans and band, allow everybody to heal as one, and then start to look to the future and not just keep looking towards the past. This is it. This was my experience. If you've seen any of these shows, hit me up. I'm going to put in the description of this video the complete list of the tour dates. So if you've been to a show, if you're planning on going to a show, hit me up, let me know, use the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video.